All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another episode here. I am your humble servant, JP. Very excited to connect with you guys here for another episode. And if you don't know, folks, this is the Content Creators University. What we do here is we connect with one of the best content creators in order to learn from them. Learn things that are going to allow you and me to improve our craft, to improve our reach, to have a better composition value, better proposition value, to do the things that we already maybe do, but the best way and also the smart way. Today we have another professor, but before we bring him onto the board, if you're new, I want to go ahead and ask you to go ahead and smack the like button, subscribe to this channel if you appreciate this type of videos, or you simply love tech. Well, welcome to the place. We talk gear, tech, behind the scenes, different things that are gonna help you level up everything you're doing. And if you want to be learning from the best minds, then this is it. So before we talk about that, folks, this show, I want to let you guys know, is sponsored by RTN Streams. Well, RTN Streams is a solution that allows you to take your live streams to a higher level. If you're minister, your ministry, a company, a business, and you're looking for a solution that will allow you to decode your live stream and have premium services, or you want to control your OTT value like your Roku application, your Fire TV, or having a streaming website, or simply you just want to have an uninterrupted live stream, well, RTN Streams have some severe CDN servers that will help you level all that up. You want to go and check them out at rtnstreams.com. Besides that, if you want to improve your live presentation, just like in this video, I am using Ecamm, but I have overlay on the screen. I'm digging those as well. And if you want free overlays, high quality overlays, well, RTN Streams is giving you guys some free ones. Let's go ahead and run the ad. We'll be right back. Let's go. As you can see right there, some high quality free, 100% free overlays that you can get and improve the presentation, the visual storytelling of your production. Go to rtnstreams.com, download it free today, okay? Before we talk about the next things coming, I want to let you guys know that we have some heavy hitters on the Content Creators University. Today, we have an amazing professional. I'm not going to talk about him yet. Before we talk about him, let me tell you who are the next guests that are going to appear on this platform. So we will be getting next Tom Buck. That will be tomorrow, right here on this channel at the same time, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Go ahead and subscribe, share this video, and stay tuned. Activate all the bells so that you're notified whenever we go live. But Tom is not the only one that will be joining us on this platform. So again, like I said, we do have some awesome players that are coming. Besides Tom, let me tell you who else is coming. There we go. We have Eliseo Way. Our man and one and only Eliseo Way will be joining us on May 18th. And we're about to talk about behind the scenes gear and also how you can make money with your production, which is a very important topic because we want to do it right. And we want to know what are the avenues we have in order to make all the money we can make, but at the same time, improve our presentation, because you don't have two opportunities whenever it comes down to content creation. You have one shot and you want to make sure we do the best of the shot we get. That'll be awesome conversations with Eliseo Way. Very excited for him to get here. Besides that, we also have our one and only Felicia Alston. She'll be joining us here as well on May 19th. And she has a phenomenal studio. We're about to take a look at all the stuff she has, her gadgets, her gear, her connectors, peripherals, everything she has, and why she has the things she has, the way she has them. Because there's some thoughts that are put behind setting up a studio. And so what we do here is show you different options that you can use and help you think about the way you want to set yours up. Or maybe you already have a studio and you're thinking of upgrading or tweaking things around. Well, that'll be a great video for you to check out, all right? And also, we have somebody else coming. There we go. Kirk Nugent will be joining us as well on June 2nd on this show. Very excited with Kirk. We're about to talk about the secret on overcoming stage or camera fright, right? Yeah. There's a way to get on camera, right? The right mindset and different things. Some folks have some rituals and how you should get on stage and be the best you and kill it every single time. So amazing conversations that we're gonna have with Kurt right here. Very excited to have him on the show as well. Now, enough talking about the folks that are gonna join us today. We're having this man right here. His name is Walter Jeanette. Now, Walter Jeanette, he's a content creator. He's a thinker. Like he says himself, he's a man of many words. Today we're talking branding. Branding goes far deeper than you can imagine. Branding is not just the graphics. Branding is not just the visuals that you have. There's more to it. And also, how can we take our branding and systematize the whole thing and monetize it with the way we give our one-stop shop whenever people come to our platform? Well, we're about to talk about that with our guest today. And let's go ahead and bring him on stage. Hey, Mr. Walter, welcome to the show.
What's going on, JP? Thanks for having me. Hello,
Absolutely.
everybody. Yes, sir.
Welcome. I'm very, very happy that you're here with us today to talk about something that is dear, not just to my heart, but to a lot of producers' heart, which is branding. A word that is
Absolutely.
overused, misused, abused, and however you want to put it today. Where the true heart of understanding the face value of that word has been butchered. Well, it is important that
Right.
we reset the clock and we have some fresh conversations around it with folks that truly know what branding is all about, folks that you professionals in the industry. So I'm very excited that we embark on that. But before we even get into a nitty and gritty, for the folks that do not know you, could you please introduce yourself to them?
Absolutely. My name is Walter Jeanette. I hail from a small town in eastern North Carolina called Washington. It is referred to as Little Washington, but it actually is the original Washington. So we were here before what you know as the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Washington is known for having one of the most amazing waterfronts in all of America and having some of the best hot dogs that have ever been known to mankind. We're not new to this. We true to this. Bill Hot Dog, shout out. So shout out to the fam at L Dub. But no, that's home. That's a big part of who I am. And one thing is I will carry with me. It keeps me humble anytime I'm on a platform like this. But glad to be in the space. As soon as I saw your tagline with the create, impact, to innovate, I was like, listen, great minds think alike. Because I always tell people, my tagline is, that mantra is create, inspire, and solve. So, me and
There we
JP were
go.
talking backstage, and I know tonight is going to be a dope conversation, because we're on the same wavelength, same page, same chapter, same paragraph. So I'm excited, and I'm just glad to jump into the conversation, man. Thanks for the
I am
invitation.
very, very excited as well. Thanks so much, Walter, for that awesome introduction. One thing that I really appreciated is that you said you talked about where you're from, and you said that's a
Yeah.
big part of who you are, which automatically gets into the nitty and gritty of the topic today, branding. Who you are and
Right.
branding, which is a very serious thing. But before we start that conversation, let me go ahead and give a shout out to the folks that are joining us live here. Thanks, folks. If you're watching this on the my Roku TV channel, or my Fire TV channel, or you're watching this on Facebook, social media, or YouTube, or if you're joining us for the replay, I want to welcome you to this platform. This is what we do. We have great minds here, professionals on the Content Creators University, and today we have a Professor Walter Jeanette, I call him. He's about to teach us some things and help us think outside the box a little bit on the subject matter. Let me give a shout out to Steve. Hey, Steve, welcome to the show. I appreciate you joining us here. Very, very happy that you're here. I also have my man, Cedric Moore. Hey, Cedric, thanks for joining. All
L
right, guys, if you have
L
any question,
Dub.
put it in the
That's the
comment section
brother-in-law
below.
right there.
Already sounds good. That means it's already good.
Right,
All right,
right.
Walter. So let's go ahead and jump into this. All right. There is this post that you posted that links directly to this, which is
Mhm,
influencers, content creators.
mhm,
Today
mhm,
we have the word content creation, and we used to have influencers. Influencers when it comes down to branding and
mhm.
business owning. What is your intake on that? I know you posted online, but I want to have what you think. Why do you think, like you posted, let's elaborate on that, that the expression influencers shouldn't really be an expression used. It should be actually known and discovered. Break it down for us,
Gotcha.
please.
Right, right, right. It really picking up just what where started talking about where I'm from being such a big part of who I am, and one of the issues that I see for our industry, social media, just this influencer culture in general, is that people have, instead of embracing where they're from and embracing their story and understanding how much credibility and how much validation that provides to an audience, they totally disregarded that, and they've used social media to try to recreate themselves. So we get a lot of imposter syndrome. You get a lot of people who are seeking validation in subscribers and followers. They're looking for that blue check on Instagram or Twitter. And you have people saying, I want to be an influencer. I want to be an influencer. I want to be an influencer. Not understanding that, in influence is something that is achieved. It's not something that's given to you. It's not a title that you give yourself. Michael Jordan, and I'm a Kobe fan, but this is just the first thing that came to my mind. Mike didn't go around calling himself the best, at first. Like, people called him that. I've never heard Steph Curry refer to himself as the greatest shooter of all time. People call Steph Curry the greatest shooter of all time. It's one of those things where it's like I don't have to say it. I don't have to give myself that claim, because if I'm giving myself that type of title, it means I'm too focused on that. I'm too focused on affirmation. I'm too focused on what I need. I'm too focused on, actually being seen and being recognized, instead of just getting in the weeds and actually doing the work. So I'm very leery when I see people just come out the gate and they say, "Hi, I'm an influencer." I'm like, "Yeah, next." Especially on Clubhouse. It was like,
Right.
"Yeah, I'm an influencer." It's like, bro, aren't we all? Like, who's not? Like, everybody is an influencer in some form or
You know, well,
fashion,
another.
whether you influence one person or you influence millions. So, but it's
Right.
like, I'm not gonna call you an influencer unless you've really, really, really just kind of earned that title. And then most of your real influencers or whatever that are really humble or down to earth, they just like, call me by my name, or because
Right.
I'm not defined by what I do. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I influence, but that's not who I am. So that
Yeah,
kind of
that's
grinds my.
very
That's
true.
one of those things that it just rubbed me the wrong way. I'm like, here we go again,
And
more
it's so
influences.
true. It
Yeah,
is very true what you said, because we're all influencers in a way or another. Now,
right.
whenever we tie down into content creation, is that whenever you create content and you brand your content, you're
Right,
influencing somebody with your branding. So
right.
that is why having the so-called title of influencer is kind of deceiving a little bit, because what are you influencing? And that's
Absolutely.
what we
That's
don't
good.
understand. Who or
That's
what are
good.
you influencing?
That's
Because
good.
you can be in your, room or in your basement and call yourself an influencer without lifting a finger, without branding anything, without creating anything, as a matter of fact, without solving a problem. And in
Right.
reality, the sole core of this term influencer, based on my humble experience, was to bring out the folks that are moving the needle in
Hmm.
solving the problem, in helping in some way. And we're saying those people are influencing through the solutions. See, that's where we're
Right.
not putting down
Right.
the solutions that we're putting
Right.
out. So today, whenever people are saying, I am an influencer, we don't know what they're influencing. We don't know exactly what they're doing, where they're
Right.
going, or where they came from, which is, again,
Right.
going back to what you just said. It is important to understand where you came from. And this goes into branding. Why is it that in branding, you need to understand where you came from to have a better presentation of your product?
Because it personality is I say a lot of things as far as like things that are the new currency. I've said collaboration is a new currency, creativity is a new currency. But what I've preached for the past several years is we've never seen a better opportunity than now to be able to translate personality into profit. And what I like to use as an example is insurance. There is nothing sexy about insurance. Current people, most people hate it. They're like, why I gotta have this? Chances of me getting in a wreck are slim to none until you get in that wreck and you wish you had it. But if you pay attention to what the general has done, what Progressive has done, what Allstate has done, what Geico has done, farmers, hey, we've seen it, so we cover that. These are companies that understood that what we do is a necessity. But in order to bring in not just a new customer base, because you have a whole new generation of people that need insurance, whether it's auto insurance, whether it's renters insurance, whether it's life insurance, we have to make this appeal to this new generation of millennials, Generation Z, and all these different type of people. So the best way to do that is to make it personable. I have to make it
Right.
relatable. I have to make it applicable to you where you are, to where now it leaves a lasting impression whenever you come across one of those commercials. And does that necessarily mean that you're going to shop with Geico because they have, the funniest commercial, especially back in the day when they had the pig hanging out the window talking about some wee,
Right.
does that mean that you're going to shop with Flow? It doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to shop with them. But what happens is when it does come time for you to make a life altering decision, chances are you're probably going to remember, oh, let me check them out because I did remember something they said in their conversation, or Geico is always talking about 15%. Well, let me see what that's all about. It's going to be something that clicks where they're
Right.
pushing and they're branding and they're marketing and say, okay, let me go back and make a life-changing decision. And branding is really about your ability to get people to trust you with their lives. It's one of the reasons I love Apple. They don't sell products. They're not a tech brand. They are a lifestyle brand. And companies and people that are successful at branding, they've understood how to make people say, I cannot live my life without this product. What would my life be without the iPhone? What would my life be without a Tesla? What would my life be without the M1 Mac Mini? What would my life be without the Sony A6400? Those are the companies that have successfully been able to say, hey, let me position my product and my value proposition in a way to make you just when you hear the name Apple, when you hear the name Sony, you get that gut feeling that I'm good with them. I'm good with them because I trust them literally with my life, especially in your case, my case. If production is part of our livelihood, you're literally saying, hey, I'm kind of putting my life in your hands, Sony. So I need this camera and this lens to work. And so that's really the basis where I come from with that. Just understanding you have to be proud of your origins and you have to be proud of where it is you come from because that creates your personality. Authenticity is the key, and you can tell when somebody's being fake. So it's like you come in the room, I'm an influencer. Okay, bye, on to the next one. But that person that's authentic, that
Right.
doesn't need the affirmation, that doesn't need to be validated. They just walk in the room and all the energy immediately goes towards them. It's just that those are the people who say, hey, it doesn't matter. You couldn't tell whether they were a millionaire or whether they were broke. It's just that because they're so authentic in their presentation, they're so
Right.
confident in their story, they have a way of being able to compel people to say, yo, whatever it is that you're selling, I want to buy it. If I'm a slug and you selling salt, I want to buy
I'm
it
gonna
because I'm
buy
just
it.
convicted. I'm just convicted because you're just that authentic.
Awesome, awesome. And I like what Charles Jackson said right there. He said, I can't leave without this M50.
Listen,
I hear
that
you,
was my
Charles. I
first
totally.
baby. Yeah, the M50.
And that is so true what you said. Where that's where we get the disconnect from, right? The disconnect
Right.
between the subject and the brand. When in
Right.
reality, the subject and the brand should be one, because
Absolutely.
the it's not necessarily a product that you're selling. Is not a anything like that. It's not a physical
Right.
thing, but it's a
Right.
lifestyle, right? So
Right.
in other words, what you're saying is that branding is a lifestyle. So if I want to put
Absolutely.
in different words, you and me, we can talk about the same thing, but with two different flavors. It's just like going to a restaurant, right? Same food from two different chefs will have two
Mhm.
different flavors to it.
Mhm.
Same food.
Mhm.
So the thing is that your personality and who you are will have to affect the brand in order for it to be effective, because we do see branding, or people try to brand products trying to separate themselves from the product. So it ultimately what happens is that the people, the consumer, are forgotten about that. And that's where it goes
Right.
in. When we're presenting the product, who are we presenting it to or
Right.
for?
Right. Right.
Elaborate,
Right.
brother.
Look, right. No, I was just gonna Charles is gonna laugh at this. I don't know if Jermaine or if anybody's watching, but they probably know what's coming next. In a world of Whoppers, what makes you a Big Mac? Because the thing is, like you just said, everybody sells burgers, everybody sells chicken sandwiches, everybody sells air fryers. What is it that's going to separate you from that other competitor? The only thing that they can't replicate is you.
Is
And
you.
so it amazes me when people want to start a business and when people want to be entrepreneurs, when people want to brand things, they want to brand themselves, they want to brand a business, they want to brand a ministry, all of these things. I'm like, why are you removing you from the process? You know what I'm saying? Because you are the differentiating factor. You are the special sauce, as James Hick, just said. It's like that's what makes you different. That's why people buy the Big Mac, because this sauce. All of us have now, whether you like McDonald's or not. I'm not here for that. Any matter of fact, I'm doing this whole no meat thing for like the last, for last weekend and this week, minus Mother's Day. But the thing is, McDonald's understands what their special sauce is. And we've seen numerous restaurants, numerous companies try to replicate that. And it's nothing but Thousand Island. But you go buy a bottle of Thousand Island out the store, I'm like, this don't taste nothing like the Big Mac sauce. You know what I'm saying? So it's something so special about that. And they stick to it. They don't stray away from it. And they put themselves into that. And they understand, yo, we're going to do what we do. We don't care that Burger King is across the street. If you like Burger King, then eat Burger King. If you like
Go
Hardee's,
ahead,
eat
yeah.
Hardee's, Wendy's, whatever. But what we do is what we do. JP, you have your own brand. I have my own brand. Charles has his own brand. James Hicks has his own brand. Everybody in Let's Get Live, Ecamm Live, whatever. We're all kind of, and I'm not gonna say relatively talking about the same things, but everybody's just about doing the same thing. But the thing that's gonna separate me from you from me from anybody that's watching is the personality that you bring to the equation. And so when we're talking about branding, that's what people want to see you show up. One thing I say all the time, I'm like, don't show up on a platform regurgitating something you heard somebody else say. I'm
Right.
like, you're like, I don't want to hear that. I can go follow them. I can go look up their content if I want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear you. I want to see you. I don't care. Like I tell people, you gonna get what you're gonna get. If I ain't got a haircut, you're gonna get it. If I got a pimple in the middle of my forehead, you're gonna get it, because that's part of me. I've gotten to the point where I didn't, like I said, on Kirk show, I didn't used to like myself, but I got to the point where I embraced me. I embraced my story, and I embraced everything that allows me to be authentic. So when you see Walt show up, when you say somebody says Walt is live, it's like, yo, you're going to get the same Walt every single
Every
time
single
that you,
time.
that you see me. And that's part of my brand. That's part of that's part of the brand that is Walt, where it's like, yo, Walt gonna come. We can be talking about grocery bags on the live stream, and Walt gonna find a way to just take it there. And it's not the upstage anybody. It's not the, it's just, this is me. I don't know any other way to be other than to be myself. And that's the one thing I preach to people. Show up as you. We want to see you, bring you, aside from the gear, aside from the cameras. Hey, I want to see you show up. Hey, JP, I love your
Yep.
setup. I love the studio. I love the computers. But I want to see JP. If you get rid of all of that and you start shooting all of your content on the phone, Hopefully, I still get the same JP, and then we can deal with the tech later. But I want to see you show up. That's the art and the essence of branding that people have completely forgotten about. Not understanding. People don't buy products; they buy people.
They
Before you
buy
buy a
people.
product, what you do? You go to
Hmm.
Amazon, look at the reviews, or you go to YouTube and look at the video and see whoever else has bought it. So you're
Right.
not buying the product; you're buying what the other person has said about the
About
product.
the product and how it's solving or changing that person's life or is making a
Absolutely.
difference. Then you imagine yourself in that
Right.
scenario and you
Right.
think, oh, I believe that I might or I had experienced that same problem in the past before. So I envision myself with that solving my problem. So since I know
Right.
that I might end up encountering the same issue in the future, I better go purchase this thing right now because I'm gonna need it in the future. Simple as that.
Exactly.
When we're purchasing a car, some families they're just two people. They don't have five children. Some have two and three. So some will buy the suburban, some will buy the five seaters and the sedan, depending on the type of vehicle. Not just you want, but you need, which is very important.
Right.
Now that goes straight to what you and I were just talking about off stage earlier, where
Mhm.
whenever you are branding yourself and
Mhm.
you're separating yourself from the people, you're doing the people a disservice. And in other
Right.
words, it's like you are hurting the people because people are trying to get you. Now,
Right.
branding, in other words, is supposed to be a solution to a problem.
Mhm.
So there's a problem. The question is, what is your solution? So whenever
Right.
you are not putting yourself there, you don't understand that you were built to solve somebody's problem.
Right.
And somebody can be struggling with the same problem for so long and never find a solution simply
Right.
because you decided not to solve that problem,
Right.
which is a big deal. And that goes straight into content creation because today a lot of people want to understand how they can monetize through their branding. And you see some phenomenal artwork, amazing high-end artwork, but that is not they're not doing any impact. They're not impacting any
Right.
lives. They're not moving
Right.
any needle. They're not changing or transforming anything. And
Right.
people want to know, how is it that I have everything at the right place? I have every artwork done professionally. I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get my website done, my app, my visuals are fantastic. Yes, they are. But how can we connect to it if you yourself you don't connect to your own product?
Yo, that's big. That is so big because again, that it goes back to the discussion about the special sauce. And a lot of times people will be like, "Well, you beating a dead horse." I'm like, "Yeah, because you don't get it." Like it's not. I'm not gonna say it's not difficult, but at the same time, it's one of those things where you do kind of have to say it 100 times for it to finally click. Because you do have a lot of people that say, "Hey, I have a great product. Insurance is a great product. You need insurance. You need health insurance. You need life insurance. You need, mortgage, renters, home, dental, whatever kind of insurance you need." But at the end of the day, it's like, I'd rather not have it, but I know I need it. But at the end of the day, as great of a product as it is, depending on who your audience is, depending on who it is you're trying to sell to, depending on who it is that you have to market to, you have to make it personable. Branding, one of the things I always tell people, the way I help people understand what branding is by telling them what it's not. And so I really draw a distinction between branding and marketing. A lot of people are like, "Walt, why do you do that?" Because branding technically is a subset of marketing. If we really get into the science and the weeds, it's like marketing is kind of this overarching thing, and then branding is a subset of that. So it's almost like, well, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I tell people, I'm always going to lead with branding, and I'm always going to brand myself first, because if it doesn't matter how great my product is, if people hate me, if people don't like me, if people dislike me because of my personality or my reputation, as to what you just said, if I'm not, if I'm not showing up in a way that shows them Walter has the solution to your problem. I got whooped today. It's like, yo, I've been kind of dragging my feet. You know what I'm saying? Like I do web design, or it's one of the things I did. Started out when I was doing graphic design and all of that, and I always made an excuse. It's like, yo, branding for yourself is like the hardest thing to do. Now, most people that are designers, they can tell you it's like it's so easy to work for somebody else, but it's like, yo, when you got to stop and work for yourself, it's like, yo, until I got to the point where I scaled back over the past year and I really started focusing on me because I was way too invested in other people's passions who weren't even invested themselves. So it was like, yo, let me give that same energy to myself, and got to today. And it's like, yo, okay, now that you're being positioned in some of these areas and that exposure that I was talking about on one of the lives I did earlier is happening, you don't want to be caught in the wrong light. You don't want to be caught in a sense where, hey, I want to do, I want to use you for something, or this, is there somewhere I can go? Do you have a site? And I'm like, bro, like I design sites for other people and I ain't even got my stuff together. So again, I'm doing my audience a disservice, because if they're looking for a solution and they can't find me, it's like, well, Walt, I want to use you. And the problem is when you allow that, when you get stuck there and you allow that to become your reputation, when you allow that to become the gut feeling, because I've been there. That's why I'm so adamant about this, and I really push this, and I show people my wounds, I show people my scars, because those are failures that I had to walk through, where it was like, yo, Walt does great work, but Walt's communication sucks. which
Right.
which was crazy because I'm an excellent communicator when it comes to everything else. Like when I consider myself to be a communications specialist in my 9 to 5, and in just my professional career. And I'm like, how is it that I can succeed over here and I'm struggling in this area? And so that's when I had to kind of level out, weigh things out. But I tell people, you got to build yourself. We say build it, they will come. You got to build yourself first, because I don't care how great your product is. If somebody doesn't like you or you're not present when they need you to be, they're not going to buy your product. And so,
Good.
so branding is about that person. It's not about you. It's not about your favorite color. It's not about what you want the logo to be. It's not about what font you like. It's about what speaks to your audience. Do you even know who your target audience is?
There
And
we
and
go.
so branding is the gut feeling. It's the emotion that they get. I tell people, it's what they say about you when you're not in the room. You ever been in a room with people and you're having a conversation, or
Yep.
you walk in the room and you can tell they were just talking about you, and you're
Yep.
like, that won't really good. Or when you walk away that they're going to talk about you. That's branding. That's what is the
Yep.
gut feeling that people get when they hear Walter, when they hear the last name Jeanette. How did they feel? They're like, I don't know how I feel
Yep.
about Walt. Or like, Walt, oh man, I love that guy. That's branding. That's how they feel about me. But marketing is how I feel about myself. That's
Right.
this influencer culture that we have. And I tell people, it's like dating and relationships. Marketing is your tie, your blouse, your heels, your shirt, your shoes, your sneakers, your fit. You putting on your best presentation. I'm putting on my best fit because I want to give the best first impression to my audience. And the thing is, it doesn't matter how good I look. It doesn't matter what I present to you. If you don't know me, I can look as good as I want to look, smell as good as I smell. And I can ask this woman, be like, will you marry me? And she's like, fool, no. And I'm like, why not? I look good. I got it all together. She was like, I don't know you. I
Right.
don't trust you. So no matter
Right.
how good your marketing is, no matter how good your presentation is, if you don't show up and you don't give me an opportunity to get to know you, if you don't give me an opportunity to build a relationship and build trust with you to see, can we create this lifelong lifestyle of a brand, this lifelong connection relationship, then bro, you can kick rocks and keep it
It's not gonna
moving. You know what I'm
work.
saying? And then pay
Yeah.
my tab on the way out. That's where people struggle, because they're like,
Thank you.
but yellow is my favorite color. Nobody cares. I told you backstage. I was like, black is I wanted to use black. No, my audience don't care about that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's a hard conversation, man, because people get offended, people get in their feelings, which is why I kind of pulled back. I said, let me invest in myself, because I can take my own criticism. Everybody can't take their own criticism when I come to them and I say, yo, that's not gonna work. Well, what you mean it's not gonna work? It's not gonna work for who you're trying to reach. I'm not saying it's not good, but according to your audience,
And see,
according to
that's
the
where we need to separate. Like we need
right.
to separate it because there's a distinction that needs to be made between producing something of quality and
Yes.
producing something of quality that will have an impact,
Oh, that's
right?
good. That's
The
good.
impact
That's good.
part of it is what we're missing in a lot of sauce that we're cooking.
Cool.
We automatically want to underestimate the impact that we're supposed to make. Well, you can never
Right.
have an impact on any people unless you consider the people first. In other words, in every relationship, and now let's break it down real quick. Branding
Hmm.
is a relationship between the person, the subject, and the people, the target audience.
Right.
So
Right.
unless you take the time to study the person you want to get in relationship with, there will
Them
be no
profiles.
substance in that.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
Because everything we're doing in a successful relationship is to make sure we are putting the who first, not you
Hmm.
first, but the other person first.
Ooh.
Okay. And a lot of people, they don't see branding as a relationship. That's where we're missing it at. You are getting in bed with somebody. The question is, who is that person? So
Ooh.
once we start looking at it that way, understanding that we're trying to get in bed with somebody, now we can start analyzing and telling ourselves, do I truly want to get in bed with this person or no?
Ooh. This
Do
is
I
where I
truly
start interviewing
care?
you.
Do I truly have feelings? Am I gonna see
Ooh.
myself the next 10 years in this
Wow.
relationship? That's
Wow.
where the impact comes from.
Wow.
When we
That's
can
good.
envision ourselves in the same relationship for the next 10, 20 plus years, then we can have an impact on the so-called target audience. But when
Right.
we do not even see ourselves, our history, our past, no connection, no correlation, nothing, then obviously you've answered your own question. Whatever you're trying to do will have zero impact. That's where
Man.
it comes from. And
Man.
branding, the first conversation we need to have is, where are you going? Where did you come from?
Right.
And
Right.
once you know where you're going, where you came from first,
Good.
and where you're going, that will
That's good.
help you break it down where you understand the colors that you need to put up. Because colors, and whenever I used to teach that, since I'm a cinematographer, that's my background.
Hmm.
And whenever I'm teaching a class in cinematography, I always tell students, every single color tells a story, and every single
Yeah.
color has a reason to it. Now, the
Yeah.
question is, do you understand what story you're trying to tell with the colors you're putting up?
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's the key. That's the key. That's
And
the
if
oh
you
my
don't
God, that's
understand the
good.
color, because sometimes when you put red, it represents blood, it represents harsh, it represents
Yep.
stop. Don't
Yep.
move, stop. So, are you sure this is the message you're trying to send?
Right.
What about light blue? Why light blue? What about royal gold? Why do you
Right.
want to use royal gold? You need to understand the colors and why somebody is using it. And that is where professional branding experts like you and me, we understand. And as a client, clients usually they don't understand that. And all they're looking at is the pleasing aspect of whatever is presented in their eyes. Now you
Right.
have a message of hope and you have a visual of destruction. Putting together, that's a recipe for failure. Because your product, everything you're trying to say, your show, content creation, you have, for example, a show talking about hope, giving hope to the people.
Hmm.
But all your branding speaks one thing is hate, blood, and
Completely contradicting.
struggle.
Right.
Look at the conflict that you're creating already.
Right.
So whenever people
Right.
come and the subconscious already direct all of that, our subconscious tell us that, oh, this is somebody that I can align myself with. And a lot of time we don't realize that there's this the conscient, which is palpable, something that we see, and there's a
Hmm.
subconscious, right? Like a
Hmm.
domain name. I'm a software developer. Whenever I build website for people, I always tell them you have the domain is what you see, and you have the
Right.
subdomain. Sub means that the domain needs to exist first, and then from that you pull
Right.
the sub. While you
Right.
have the subdomain, what people don't see unless you make it available for everybody to see. Are you sure that the sub is aligning with the domain?
Ooh. We've switched roles. I think I'm interviewing you now. Because that's good. Like that is man, that I'm gonna have to steal that and I'm gonna have to take that because people don't people don't understand how to cultivate and develop the right message, the right story for the right person. You know what I'm saying? Because they totally skip their story and then they don't even pay attention to the person. You know, it's like you making um your packaging or whatever, it speaks to, maybe a male, a middle-aged male base, but the product is supposed to be catered, to like women, but the
Mm-hmm.
packaging, the fonts, the colors, just the style of materials that you use, is way more masculine, and people don't understand it. It really goes that deep to what you said. It's like people, it's kind of like when people get married and they get, 10 years in, if you even get to that long, and it's like, yo, I didn't sign up for this, and it's like, yes, you did. It's like you didn't see the fine print. And one of the things I tell people is you got to, like you just said, you got to understand how to do the math. You got to understand the psychology of people and the things that they're considering, because the brain, if we look at the psychology of the brain is designed to do one thing, and that's to make sure that the body survives. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want the brain to do what it's supposed to do, and look at you and look at your product and say, hey, we need that to survive, and all the elements are in place, the music, when you walk in certain stores and you're shopping, there's a reason they play the music that they play. When you walk in certain grocery stores, there's a reason bananas are always at the front of the store. Even when you go to the gas station, it's like, why is the gas station selling bananas? Because it's something about the color yellow that conveys a certain type of feeling, a certain type of emotion, a certain type of psychology. When all of those things are in place, then you can make the customer do whatever it is that they want to do. And it's like, yo,
Right.
they sign a contract and they come back
Mm-hmm.
later and they say, well, I didn't really sign up for that because you didn't count the cost. If I've only known you, if I'm 30 years old and we've only
Mm-hmm.
known each other for like 2 years. So let's say I'm 30, female is 30. We've been dating
Mm-hmm.
for 2 years, and I decide, okay, you're the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. I've only known you for two. There are 30 other years that are unaccounted for. 30. And
Ooh,
so I
yeah.
marry your credit, I marry your dog, I marry your
Mm-hmm.
crazy in-laws, I marry your
Mm-hmm.
crazy third cousin 4 times removed from the wife that met, you marry all of that, and then you get 20 years and you're like, yo, where did this come from? I didn't sign up for that. No, yes, you did. And
You
so
did.
before you get in bed with a company, before you get in bed with a brand, before you marry, before you make a lifelong decision to devote yourself, and people are like, yo, is it that serious? That's what the
Mm-hmm.
customer is thinking, to what, like you just said. So if you don't stop for a moment, consider you have to, like you said, when you're learning the profile of who it is you're trying to reach, be that person. Like, stop
Mm-hmm.
for a moment. It's like, you be the person on the other side. You be the person on the other side that needs, what is the user experience when they go to the website? What does the
Mm-hmm.
interface need to look like? You know how it is when you go to other people. You know how it
Right.
is when you got to deal with Spectrum and Time Warner. You hate it. When you had to deal with Sprint, you hate it.
Right.
So now if I'm offering a product and service to somebody else, if I put myself in the customer's shoes, I'm not going to do the very thing that I hate that other people do to me. And so those are the little nuances, like I said, because branding is not tangible. It's not
Mm-hmm.
something which is why it trips people up, which is why people be like, my brand, my social media, it's my brand,
Right.
my business card. I'm like, no, these are deliverables and this is collateral. All of these things contribute to the overall big picture of what your brand is. But I'm like, there's a lot of people that have that and they can't sell, water, to somebody that's dying in the desert. And it's like, you don't want my water? I would never buy water from you. That's branding. That,
Right.
that, that at the end
Right.
of the day, that's branding. It's like, wait a minute, you'd rather die than buy water from me in like 150-degree weather?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't trust you. And so if people ever get back to understanding how to build that trust and build that camaraderie, build that relationship and that rapport by being authentic and showing up, and one of the best ways to do that is through content creation. You make enough videos, you run your mouth long enough, people will see the real
Mm-hmm.
you. People, especially in the live stream, it's easy to pre-record. I'm guilty of that. I'm just now getting back into the live stream scene. I'm like, pre-recording, you can hide that thing. You can kind of be like,
Right.
okay,
Right.
I can kind of put on the front. Live, what you
Is
see,
out there.
My lips is chapped, ashy, all of that. They be like, "Why you lick your lips so much?" I'm like, "Cause I wear I got Carmex sitting right here. It's hot right now. You know what it's like. You know what I'm saying? I turn the AC off so it won't be feeding
Right.
back in the microphone. All of these little type of nuances. What you see is what you get, but it's
And I'm
authentic.
glad. I'm
It's
glad you're saying
authentic.
that.
It's my personality, man, and that's what attracts people. So
Yes,
yeah,
sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you saying that because it is so true to value those things. And yeah, what you see, what you get in life, and tying that into content creation. Let's shift the gear a little bit.
yeah.
So I know somebody will be asking himself, okay, how can I put my personality into my content creation?
Mhm.
How is that possible? I know it's not tangible. How should I approach it? Or how should I think about it? Or what can I do to really show myself in the things that I'm producing, the things that I'm touching, so that can have my flavor? What's your intake on
Gotcha.
that?
My intake is I always tell people, first of all, talk about what you know. When the thing you we get to see the real you, you light up when you start talking about things that you're passionate about. You can tell when a person cares about something. You start a job or you go to a networking event and you're sitting in this circle or you're in a Zoom room, a breakout room, and people have to introduce themselves, and you're like, and all of a sudden that person starts talking about their dog. And you sitting there like, yo, like she tripping. Oh my God, I love my cat and my cat and my cat. And it's like, they're like, yeah, yeah. And everything else is kind of like, yeah, 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 yeah. But the minute somebody says something about a pet, they like it. I'm like, do you like pets? Do you like animals? Like what is it that makes you tick? What is it that makes you go? Because then we don't have to conjure your personality. We don't have to sit here and do some dance and do front flips and turn on the right type of music for you to get into the mood. Granted, they're gonna be it's like pregame. There's some things you're just gonna do, to get hype. But it's like whatever it is that makes you go. So when you're discovering your who, you got to go back again, like you said, to know where you're going. You got to know where you came from. So you got to start with your why. The famous TED Talk from Simon Sinek. You have to discover that thing that makes you tick, because at the core of that, your personality will just spill out. It's some people, and I don't want to say personality is this bubbly thing. I want the personality to be true to who you are.
Right.
Like prime example, like Charles is watching. I think he may still be watching. Charles is not like a bubbly guy. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Like we laugh, we cut up, we joke, but like when Charles is live, like Charles is not getting excited about cats and dogs. His personality though speaks to the message. So so he has these show about race, uncut, these race talks uncut. His personality, his demeanor is very serious, and he's but it's inviting and it's safe. So it gives you the appearance that we're going to have a difficult conversation, but I'm not going to feel offended by the conversation. His personality creates a space to where I can talk about something that either I'm interested in, or either something I've been invited to, or something I'm not really interested in, but I'm kind of conflicted because it's something I need to know about. And his personality is going to help me. We talk about building a story brand with Donald Miller. Quick shout out if you haven't read that book, about you now being the guide. Once you figured out your own challenges and you've come across your own muse, your own God, and you've overcome those challenges on the way to your destination, you now become that for somebody else, to where it's like, okay, now let me help you hold your hand and walk you through this process and show. And this is how you bring your personality into the space. What is it that makes you tick? I tell people, like, I don't know. I'm like, well, we're gonna talk. Like, we have to talk. We got to talk. And then other people will tell you what you get excited about, what your personality should be. Some people are just like, you be like, oh, they grumpy, they just so melancholy. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Maybe y'all should sell caskets or something like that. I don't know. It's like I am a firm believer that everybody gets excited about something. I refuse to believe that there's a person in this world that is 100% just Debbie Downer. They might be
Right.
99%, but as long as they get excited about something, I don't care if it's Jello pudding. They get excited if it's tapioca, whatever, Dasani
Right.
water. I don't care. They get excited about something. At that point of excitement, that's where we see the truest form of your personality, and that's where we focus at. If I'm working with a
Right.
client, I said that's where we focus at, and that's what we're going to bring out. So it may be a training ground where I say, yo, if you get excited about tapioca pudding, the next 10 videos we gonna do is about tapioca pudding. They can be like, that ain't got nothing to do. I'm like, we'll worry about that when we get there. But right now,
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to cultivate. You'll talk about this with Kirk. We're trying to cultivate your personality so that that confidence starts to exude and come out on
Mm-hmm.
camera. So it's like, yo, forget who's watching, forget who's not watching. We talking about tapioca pudding,
Right.
and I love
And I
tapioca
like that.
pudding.
I like that
Right,
because the way you
right,
put it is so real in that, you will have an impact regardless of whether you want it or not.
right,
Whether it's positive or negative is on
right,
you. So
right,
you will have an impact, but that impact will come out of where your heart lays. So,
right,
in other words, Walter, I'm hearing something that you can pretend and have an impactful branding. You can take on somebody else's identity and have an impactful branding. So, if we look in society today, what is one of the number one issues that we're dealing with? Identity. What crisis?
crisis. Oh my God.
Because a lot of people are trying to find themselves. A lot of people
Mhm.
are trying to redefine themselves. A lot of people are wondering if they have a self. And we're dealing with identity crisis. And that is
Right,
translating directly into branding. So,
right,
based on what you just said, if I want to break it down a different way, it means that I cannot come on a space and talk about a subject that doesn't hit home, a
no,
subject that does not make me tick or that I
no,
don't connect with myself. Like, yeah, I can
right,
go, for example, like anybody else, right? You can learn something, you can learn
yep,
skill,
yep.
but what you learn is not what you necessarily connect with. Like we all go to school, we all go to college, we take
I was
classes
just
and
about
different
to
things
say
that we
that.
don't
Right,
care.
right,
Do we
right,
connect with
right,
that, Walter?
right, right. No, man, that you hit the nail on the head, and we see it over and over again where people are putting out content that has nothing to do with what they love because they are chasing numbers, they are chasing affirmation, they are chasing likes. And I tell I have this discussion because again, shout out to Kirk. I was telling him I'm cooking low and slow. I get a lot of comments, I get
Nice.
a lot of
Yep.
feedback about stuff, and I'm like, that's cool, that's fine. When it happens, it happens. But it's like I'm cooking brisket. You know what I'm saying? And I'm cooking low and slow. It's not something you can rush. If you've had nasty brisket, you've had nasty brisket. And so I'm cooking low and slow. And the thing is, I don't want to do something that takes me to a place I can't sustain. So a lot of times what we talk about is don't allow your character put you on a platform that is not able to keep you. When we start talking about people having integrity, the same thing comes into your content creation. You have to be careful about how you pivot away from the things that you care about because you're frustrated with the fact that your channel is not growing at the speed that you want it to grow. You have to
Yep.
be very careful because the minute that you pivot, you now introduce an entirely new audience who has an expectation that you're going to put out content because that's what they're interested in. Now, here you're presented with an option. Either this is an enlightenment moment for you where you
Right.
say, okay, this is something I do need to pay attention to. It is an interest of mine. I didn't think it was the priority number one, but this is what people are interested in. I can do this. Or you're conflicted and you're like, okay, what do I do now? What are my next steps? How do I sustain this? Do I try to force it and bridge the two together? Is there an opportunity? Is there a space? Like if I just start posting food videos on my YouTube channel, they're gonna be like, "Walt, what are you doing?" Now, here's the thing: I can talk about food with the best of them. My personality is going to make anything you put in front of me come alive. So I'd be better suited saying, hey, instead of me throwing that on my current audience, because I understand my audience, let me create another platform or another avenue, or maybe I don't even have to do that. Let me just, Instagram, let me just say, okay, I can use stories, or something like that, which may not necessarily speak, or TikTok, which may not necessarily speak to the essence of my brand, but it may speak to my personality to introduce me to somebody to say, Walt is a lot more down to earth, than we thought, and he's not always trying to sell. He is a human being and not a robot. And so it creates an opportunity for me. I still have to, evaluate. I still got to evaluate. It's like, okay, it does this help me? Does this help my audience? And am I, by trying to help my audience, because you can do too much. You can't save everybody.
Right.
And so in the content that you're creating, don't jeopardize your own safety by creating things for other people. I know we talk about branding as being what other people want and being what other people say, but there still has to be this marriage of the two. It's like, yo, you can't love me and I not love you. That thing has to go back and forth. So it's like there has to be a meeting of the minds to say, you love the things that I'm interested in. And I'm going to create content that continues to peak and help solve the issues that are in that bubble. I'm not going to do you a disservice and go out here all willy-nilly and start posting about four-wheelers, when all I talk about is Apple MacBooks all day. Like, it's like,
Yep.
okay, is
Yep.
that a one-off thing, or are you going through some type of identity crisis? People was like, is it that serious? If
Yep.
you want to be successful, yes, it's that serious. If you just want to throw caution to the wind and say, man, I'm just out here doing it. I mean, that's cool, and some people do that, but it's like, we spend too much money to be out here just playing. This
And
equipment is expensive.
I want to go ahead and pivot this to a place where a lot of people don't really like talking about is that
Hmm.
we need to remember that whenever we put ourselves to the world, we are exposing ourselves to be judged by any and everybody that sees our
Talk
work.
about it.
And this is the
Oh my
aspect
god.
that a lot of people don't like talking about is understanding that just like in a relationship, you need to be ready. I mean, yourself, even though it's about the person, before you start putting somebody else first, you need to be at a place where you're at ease with yourself. That means that
Yeah.
whenever things that you put out do not happen in the way that you want them to happen, you are
Yeah.
still the same you. In other words, people will judge,
Yeah.
people will comment, people will attack, and people will love. The thing is, anybody and everybody has now been given the right to give their judgment or pass a judgment on what you are producing. Now,
Listen.
that is an aspect that a lot of times new beginners in this journey do not think about.
Mhm.
And that
Right.
causes a problem in the future, which the relationship does not last because they couldn't
Ooh.
take, or they're having a mental breakdown, or
Mhm.
that is affecting them in depression personally. Why? Because they maybe I'm saying, were not at a place where they were good with themselves.
Right. Right.
Input on that.
I tell people it's funny because I was having this thought today. One of the things, so I said earlier, and one of the things that I've shared as of late is that I didn't always like myself. That doesn't work well for social media. That doesn't work well for YouTube, because one or two things are going to happen. Either you're going to not show up as yourself. You're going to lie. You're going to do God a disservice and say, I don't like the way you made me. I'd rather be somebody else. And you'll be an imposter, or you don't show up at all, or when you do show up, you're very depressed. And that's and May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so that is a very real place that we don't really talk about for content creation. But so one of the things I practice, mental health practice for my content creation. I'm glad we're going down this road. I like my videos before anybody else does. And people and a lot of people find it weird if you like your own status. They're like, you like that's a weird practice.
Right.
Forget that. If nobody else likes it, you have to like it. You have to love what it is that you do. There has to be a conviction so strong about yourself. It may not have been your best video, it may not have been your best live stream, but at the end of the day, I'm so secure and I'm so confident with who I am that I love it. I'm always going to be the first person to love it because I'm not looking for anybody else to love it. If they come along, great. But I would never allow anybody else to say, yo, I love what you do and I'm not in love with me. I've been there. And that can be and there are a lot of people that are at that place. A lot of people, that may not understand the calling or the purpose on their life. And you have those people that kind of come and confirm and affirm that it's like, yo, you were destined to do this and there's greatness over your life. But then you have those people that's just like, they don't believe in themselves. And it's like, yo, you have more people that push you harder than you push yourself because you don't believe in yourself. So one of the things I practice, one of the things I tell people, I'm like, yo, celebrate yourself. Start setting goals for yourself. I'm throwing the biggest party ever when I get to 1,000 subscribers. And
Yeah.
people is like, it's only 1,000. I was like, no, first of all, this is a goal that I set for me. I could care less what you think about it, but for me, this will be a milestone that I set out at the beginning of the year to say, I'm going to hit this number by this date. And when I hit it, I'm going to celebrate that because when I get down the road and the million followers and the million subscribers come, my mindset will already be, it's not that I didn't need you to get here. I appreciate the fact that you came with me along on this journey, but because I'm so secure in myself that I understood there were a many days and a many nights that I had to do it by myself. When I posted and nobody liked it, when I
Nobody
posted
liked it.
and nobody shared it, when I posted and nobody commented. And those are the grind stages where people get lost again because they're making content for validation and not conviction. You have to create content based on your own convictions. Create Content Creator University that says create, impact, innovate. My
Innovate.
mantra, I tell people, God put me here to do three specific things: create, inspire, and solve. Every YouTube video I have, any video I do, hey, party people, life is a party. I'm inviting you into that's my personality. We are celebrating. Every time you see me come on the scene, we are celebrating. So I call you party people. Welcome to my party. We made the wake up list today, so this is a reason to party. When you come find me, I'm going to help you build a better brand, grow your business, and help you create a community around the things that you're most passionate about. People that follow me, that should be memorized, ingrained in your mind because you hear me say it all the time. That's going to be me till they tag my toe and I'm 6 feet under, whether anybody is there or not. People going to look back and they're going to say, yo, we remember when Walt didn't have nobody, when nobody liked the statuses, when nobody commented, and he still brought that same energy because he was secure in himself. And I lived based on my own convictions and not the affirmation and validation of somebody else. So a good do yourself a favor. Take yourself out to dinner. Take yourself out on a date. Buy yourself a gift. Celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself. Show up for yourself. Before you worry about all of these people, like you said, get yourself together. Learn to love. And I'm done, JP. One of the things I'm going to say this. One of the things I love to do now is I sit in the bed and I binge watch my own content. I
Thank you.
listen to my
Thank you.
own content.
Thank you.
I go on I go through the archives of stuff, and I was like, yo, I remember when I was going to other people's I have some favorite YouTubers, some favorite content creators that I still check out their own stuff. But what I find myself doing now more than anything is listening to me, is watching me, and going back to say, yo, I remember when I made that. And like people are like, yo, where you come from? I'm like, I'm not new to this. You're just new to me.
I
And I have the
appreciate
proof. I
that.
can show you. I did a before and after last week with me and one of my best friends, Elton. And I'm like, yo, look at where we started. Look at the
Mm-hmm.
struggle, and now look at where we are. Still not where we want to be, but it's like, man,
Mm-hmm.
to see that you're just in 3 years distinction. It's like I love myself. So I don't, JP, I
Yep.
like you, but if you never invite me back, you know,
Yep. You're
if
still
this is my
good. You're
last
still the
time
same
on the
Walter.
university, yeah,
There you go.
I'm good. I'm good at the end. But I
And I
do
like the way
appreciate
you
it.
put it, man. I like the way you put it. Like, you got to cherish the journey. You got to cherish the
Yes,
road to success. And
yes,
everybody wants to talk about the beginning and the ending. But most people do not want to talk about the road to success. On the
right.
road to success, you're going to have hoops to jump. You're going to have, situations that are going to disappoint you. You're going to have things that are not going to go your way. But every single thing that happens, we need to embrace the road to success. And somebody might be in the audience and ask himself, we're talking about branding or we're talking about something else? Yes, we're talking about branding because, in other
Right.
words, branding grows. Branding
Yes.
walks with you. Branding
Ooh.
evolves with you. Branding is not stagnant. Branding 15 years prior is not, it might be the same product, but that branding will have evolved. Look around.
Oh,
Look
that's
at the
good.
companies that you know. We were just talking about Apple. Look at Apple closely. Look at the same products they've been releasing and look at their
Yep.
branding. Same
Yep.
product that evolved. Same branding that evolved. So the thing
Yep.
is, like you just said, unless you take the time to love you, to appreciate what you do, unless you are your first critic, unless you take the time to analyze what you're doing good or what you're doing bad, how can you improve?
Right.
The
Huh.
only way for anybody to become a better versions of themselves, the only way a branding can improve is by always celebrating it and playing it over and over, analyzing and asking yourself one question: am I still true to the core value of what I
Ooh.
started with? And that is
Ooh,
where
that's good.
a lot of things happen towards the end. When you do not ask yourself, you get to a certain level, you forget. Somebody will tell you, how is it that you can forget? I can never forget where I came from. Yes, you can forget where you came from if you do not always question yourself. If you do not always ask yourself, am I still true to
Hmm.
what I started to be? Because remember,
Hmm.
in relationships, like we are just saying, some relationships do not work simply because we forget how we started. We forget the things that
Ooh.
put us together. We forget what we've done that both parties
Yo,
appreciated. And today, I am a place where I'm taking you for granted. You can take your
yo,
audience for granted. Listen to that. You can take the
yo.
people that are listening to you, following you, liking you, supporting you, buying your product. You can
Yes.
take them for granted. And the second you take them for granted, that is where the slippery slope start. Large companies like Apple, going back to that again, because we started talking about Apple, they
Right.
have they have a study group. Listen to me. They have a group that always checks in with
Hmm.
reality.
Yep.
What
Yep.
what am I talking about, JP? Well, they have a group that always does what? Surveys, ask
Yep.
questions, that goes to the people that are regular people, that are the bigger part of the purchases that Apple makes, right? To know, do they still identify with the product, or have they gone to a
Mm.
place where they do not care? Because whenever you ignore the people that are fueling and providing, the source to the things you have, you will quickly find yourself in a place where you are the one man on an island, and all you have is yourself. Walter, input.
Man, I ain't got nothing to say behind that. No, 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 no. One of the things I do want to say though is, oh my, whew, okay. I was supposed. I'm currently writing a book, and the first book I was going to write was specifically on branding and branding, like I said, that distinction between branding and marketing, but really how to get your customer to say I do, and talking about the relationship building that's involved. And and I kind of stepped away from it because there was another need. I had another writing need that kind of took priority. But it's funny because I'm looking at my notes here, like, man, this man just tried to rewrite my book. So we'll have to get together so I can give you some writers credit at some point. But yo, like what you just said, as far as like, when is the last time? And people like, yo, I thought we were talking about branding. We are. This is how far reaching branding is,
Mm-hmm.
because it takes over your life, which is why I say it's the most overused, overrated, and underrated word, besides influencer, in like the last 5 or 10 years, because it's not something tangible, but it's something that requires so much work and so much. It requires you to do so much discovery of yourself, because, like you said, when is the last time you surveyed yourself? When is the last
Mm-hmm.
time you surveyed your spouse? When is the last time you surveyed your kids? When is the last time you surveyed your manager, just to say, yo, I want to make sure that I'm still showing up as me. I want to make sure that when I show up, my intentions and my motivations are still aligned with, with my original proposition. I want to make sure that when I'm showing up as the best version of myself, that I'm being fair, that I'm providing you the best value. My grandma would say, start out like you can hold out. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
even in dating, it's like, yo, don't start out crazy, because you got to be able to sustain that. If you plan
Right.
on marrying this person, you got to be able to sustain that. So don't start out from the standpoint of, it's like, yo, you build up your hopes and dreams, and you give these people this Cinderella wedding ambition, from
Mm-hmm.
marrying you or your product. And I'm like, yo, we're still talking about branding, but and then they get let down, and a lot of us are guilty of that. I was guilty of that. We've all been guilty of that, in the sense to where it's like, man, like, babe, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't show up. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the father that I needed to be. I wasn't the husband that I needed to be. Mom, I wasn't the son. Dad, I wasn't the, sister. I wasn't the brother, that I needed to be. And people have an appreciation when you can be candid, when you can be. I know a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we hate when people ask us for surveys, but if you're a business owner, or you're an entrepreneur and you want to be a business owner, I dare you, I challenge you, for the rest of the month, start surveying your customers.
Mm-hmm.
Start surveying, actually ask them, like, do you like what I do?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how has the product, because a lot, remember what I said, people don't buy products, they buy people. And
Mm-hmm.
some of you are struggling to take your income and to take your business to the next level, because you're forgetting about the very people that got your business to the point that it is now. So now I come back to you, I'm saying, hey, how do you feel? We're at a
Mm-hmm.
place, like, we're that group, we're that subgroup in Apple. They're saying, hey, we want to make sure that what attracted you to us. I know I put on a little bit of weight, baby. You know what I'm saying? I know I might not be in the best shape like I used to,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm willing to do what's necessary to get back in shape, to make sure that the person that you married, that the person that you got in bed with, that the person that you
Still
made a
there.
lifelong commitment to is still there, and that my heart is still there. And I'm going to do what's necessary to put that smile back on your face, to where you say, man, I like you, but it's just not the same. I'm not gonna leave you. I still love you, but you don't give me that tick. Like
Mm-hmm.
Apple has revitalized its base. People kind of got, like, especially the professionals and pursuits, like, man, like, you was talking about iPads, and we understand because the world is getting more mobile, but when you gonna redo, you know what I'm saying, the MacBook? When are you gonna redo the iMac? When are you gonna redo and
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden Apple's like, I got you. So now you see this revitalization. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like when Apple first hit the scene, it's like, boom, it's this refreshing. And you have to be confident enough in yourself that you can deal with somebody telling you the truth about yourself, not because they want to hurt you, but because they are aligned with the same values, and they want to see you be the best version of you. So I dare you, over the net, but for the rest of May, if you don't sell anything else this month, at least do this. Hit your email list, hit whoever and say, yo, how are you? Number one, hey, how are you doing? I know it's been a long time since we've talked, but how are you doing? How do you feel about me? Schedule a one on one, get some face to face things, and ask them. Say, hey, do you mind if I like use this? Even if it's bad. Do you, because I want that level of transparency again creates a level of trust that if somebody that's teeter tottering on the fence about whether to use you or not, them seeing something like that is like, you know what? I appreciate their level of honesty. I appreciate their level of trust. I'm going to try this out because people buy people. They don't buy products, they buy people. And people say, and they say, hey, they may have made a mistake or they may have fallen off, but they came back to the table and said, how can we make this right? There are a number of companies that I will give a second chance to when they recognize I made a mistake, I made
Right.
an error. Let me make it right because it speaks to their brand integrity. Companies that don't have integrity, they don't do that. They lose a customer and they're like, yo, we got 10 more that'll replace you. But those
Right.
companies, like those of us that are on this live right now, when you have that integrity as a brand and you have that reputation as a brand, and those values you still have are the reason you still wake up and do what you do in the morning, in the afternoon, at night, in the midnight hour, the dawn before the day strikes, those are the things that you take back to the table and you say, hey, we might not necessarily need to rebrand. We just need to go back. You see,
Yep.
everybody is going back. We just need to go back, to our first love.
Our
Take
first
me
love.
back
Yep.
to the place where I first received you. Not to take it to church, but it's like, yeah, take me back to that place where I first fell in love. When the twinkle was, we're still talking about branding. And y'all thought this whole time we was talking about relationships. No, we talking about branding. We talking about branding.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that, Walter. It was a great show. Of
Yes,
course, I'm
sir.
not going to let you go without you sharing with the folks that are with us on the show today. How can they connect with you, follow you, and things like that? Because we want to keep the contact. And again, folks, this is one of our professors, Walter Jeanette. We're just talking about branding, awesome conversations to have and understanding, going deeper than the face value that you see, and understanding the relationship between what we're doing, and making sure we have an impact and be able to monetize out of that. Walter, how can we connect with
Right.
you and find you on the web?
Absolutely, man. Right now, I'm pushing everybody to my YouTube channel. That's where I'm spending like the majority of my time doing the most of my engagement. It's kind of been crazy because I've been working so much. I just know like I made like 5 videos that I actually didn't post it, but I've like been in the comments. And so that's one thing I tell people is like, yo, even you have to be consistent in how you show up even when you may not necessarily be able to put out a piece of content. You still have to keep that relationship open to where you can connect with your audience. So I'm pushing everybody to my YouTube. Go over to YouTube. I can't really remember the URL, but just search my name, Walter
Walter
Jeanette,
Jeanette.
2 N's, 2 T's. Outside of that, I was giving Instagram all of my attention. um Instagram is kind of upset with me because Facebook has been getting more attention lately. That's something we really didn't get into with content creation about, who gets the most attention or do you try to serve, all of your platforms. But you can, a lot of my branding, if you want to see the majority of my content on branding, Instagram is going to be the place for that. If you want to see most of my context around gear and things like that, YouTube is going to be the place for that. Facebook, if you want to see me just be me, full blown personality, any other work I do in the, faith based space, hear me run my mouth, see me do things like this with JP, some other people. Facebook is going to be the spot for that. So I kind of, again, my audience on Facebook is interesting. My audience on IG is interesting. My audience on YouTube is interesting. I try to hit them all where they are so I don't, there's not this big of a conflict of who am I going to give more attention to. So Facebook, it's kind of overall. Follow me there again, Walter Jeanette. Instagram, same thing, Walt Jeanette, and YouTube, same thing, Walter Jeanette. So pretty much, I look the same in all of my pictures. I'm not one of those people to where you show up on the head. It's like, Is this the same person? No, 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 no. You're like, yeah, that's that loud guy right there. But yeah, that's and like I said, yeah, we're finishing up, we're redoing, relaunching website this week, so I can stop
Awesome,
getting
man.
fussed at.
We have some
Yeah,
conversations to have off
yeah,
stage, but I want to thank you for taking your time to teach today in this
yes, sir.
episode of Content Creators University.
Thank
And we're
you.
going to have a part two of this, Walter, if you're okay with that, because there's so
Yes,
much
sir.
into this. I know people will like part two. Folks, there is a part two possibly because there's just so much that goes into branding that we can talk about. And this is for this show not to be extremely long. So, for those of you who are new, again, folks, this is Content Creators University, where we have one of the best minds and best content creators on this show in order for them to teach us the things that we need to understand in order to level up and understand the power that we have in our production, folks. So, I want to let you guys know this show is produced by JP and sponsored by RTN Streams. And for more information on RTN Streams, folks, go to rtnstreams.com, check it out, and that will help you level up your live production. And of course, if you like this type of videos, go ahead and smack the like button on the bottom there. I appreciated this, and I'll see you guys next time for another video. You be safe. Tomorrow we have Tom Buck coming here, and it's gonna be phenomenal. We're gonna talk about gear and all other things here. Really, really fun stuff. So stay tuned, and I'll see you next time for another video. You be safe, like I always say. Shalom. Bye bye, guys.